Greetings, friends. I trust that you and your family are well. I'll be touching on the Russia Ukraine conflict again. I'm going to look at a document to provide some context that is usually missing from the mainstream narrative. And, this I think this is important because in a time where um, outlandish ideas like gender fluidity and so on is being uh, promoted and supported. Other ideas that seem, really common sense are being censored, right? And that should not be the case, particularly in a society that um, calls itself one that promotes freedom of the press and freedom of expression. So I just want to get into this a little bit, and then again I'm going to try to draw um, from it and see how this is relevant um, to us. All right. So I mentioned before about the Minsk Agreement. All right. This is a document that was drafted in 2014 between Russia and Ukraine and another committee. And in 2015, France and Germany became guarantors or signatories to the document. Now, one of the things that is being constantly put forward is that uh, Russia has some sort of expansionist um, intentions by their involvement and their special military operation in Ukraine. I think that is one of the things that this document here you would recognize is not is not so. I always tell my children in 2022, um, you there's no excuse for being ignorant, right? If you're ignorant in 2022, I think you're going to have some problems, right? It's almost hopeless. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, and just 2 points. It's a document of about 13 highlights, and you can find this um, online. I'll pin it um, in the description as well. All right, so I just want to look at the point 8. All right, it says determination of the procedure for the full restoration of the socio-economic relations, including transactions of social payments such as pensions and other payments, uh, open brackets here, takings and income, timely payments of all utility bills, renewal of taxation with Ukraine legal framework, close brackets. To this end, over Ukraine shall regain control over the segment of its banking system in the conflict areas and an international mechanism to facilitate such transfers will be created. Right? So that's 8. Now remember, Russia would have signed on to this document. All right. 9 as well. Right? 9 says restoration of full control over the state border of Ukraine by Ukraine's government throughout the whole conflict area, which should begin on the first day after the local elections and be completed after a comprehensive political settlement. Open brackets, local elections in the individual areas of the Donetsk and Luhansk region on the basis of the law of Ukraine and the constitutional reform by the end of 2015 on condition of implementation of paragraph 11 with consultation in the agreement with the representative of the individuals of the Donetsk and Luhansk region in the framework of the trilateral contact group. The trilateral contact group is a group that started drafting the document in 2014. Right now, again, these two points in it shows that Russia had all intentions of settling the two groups who have now declared their independence as states that would remain in the Ukraine under the Ukraine government. Two um, those 2 points state that clearly there, right? One of the things that you have the president at the time, Poroshenko, Petro Poroshenko, he was one who, during this period, he came out and said that the Ukraine never intended to actually sign the document, never intended to keep the Minsk agreements, and they were literally playing for time, as it were. Now, again, with this in the backdrop, you would see how after Russia would have entered Ukraine, acknowledged the two breakaway regions, and went in, according to them, to defend these two regions that were under attack for 8 years. How is it now that they are going to be drawn back to a negotiating table when Ukraine from 2015 to 2022 did not or um, made no moves to implement the settlement or the agreement that was negotiated on. Right now, again, we can recall just before the conflict started, again, Ukraine, with the under the instructions of the United States of America, they did not have intentions of negotiating. That's one of the reasons why Russia went in. So now, I mean, if the things that are playing out, these situations that are playing out in front of our faces in time that is contemporary to us, one of the things that I keep asking myself is how how much do we really know about history when things that are further removed from us, that didn't take place in our lifetimes, and we have accounts of these events: World War I, World War II, all right, the Vietnam War, and all these things. I mean, for me, I keep asking myself, how much do we really know? What spin, or whose idea were we given by these accounts in history? And again, if you go back and look at it, you'll realize that there is a lot of details that are left out. For example, in World War II, I mean, we all taught that the US defeated Nazi Germany, when really and truly, again, it was a group effort, and the United States would have played probably the smallest part and came in quite late. The USSR at the time was the army that actually captured Berlin, right? But again, from the Western viewpoint, we that is left out, right? That is, we don't even consider that, and it even looks the opposite, right? So my again, the encouragement is to look at things, with an as much as possible an objective view, and try to find the truth, because that is going to be very, very important in this time that we are living. Again, if we if we look at some of the other things, again, in contemporary times, in Syria, right, in 2017, when that time Donald Trump declared that the United States defeated ISIS in Syria, and no such thing happened. I mean, it was Russia and Iran, or the Iran backed militias that really defeated ISIS. Now, again, all these things that I say, feel free to go and check, because again, that's how we're able to, um, to discern truth from what is false. There's a there's in the agenda for us to, for whatever reason, Ukraine is the proverbial hill that apparently somebody decided that we all should die on. I disagree. It is not my war. Again, my empathy is with all those who are losing their lives senselessly, right? But for us, I find it hard to come to terms with everybody looking to Ukraine when nobody was putting a Haitian flag on their profile, when we had a sitting president assassinated. Um, none of our leaders was asking for um, investigations. What was the U.S. role in that? Why 26 Colombians, um, you know, coming into Haiti to execute a sitting head of state? Those things, for me, um, it rings hollow when now people trying to whip support up for something that clearly there was a possibility of negotiating out of, right? So um, these are the things that I think we need to really look at. There is a lot that is taking place that um, there's intention to misdirect us and to um, have us thinking, in one way, and if you have another thought, you are looked at, um, as though you something is wrong, right? So again, the search for truth should be something that we should take very important, and continue to pursue it. So for now, this is going to be probably my final one on Ukraine, as things step up in the last couple of days with the shelling of the nuclear power plant and so on. So again, there is no intention by our world leaders um, to entertain any type of negotiation, whether it be in Ukraine, whether it be over China, Taiwan, whether it be over um, Iran, Israel, right? So at the end of the day, we need to do as much as possible for us, because we don't have influence over these world changing decisions, to put things in place to make sure that we can um, mitigate whatever fallout from worst case scenarios. All right. So continue to be safe, take care of yourself and each other, and until next time, you are willing, be blessed.